Hello, 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 and welcome. We are so glad you are here. Welcome to the Writer's Bridge, and thank you for being here today. So glad to have you. Welcome, everybody. Today, we are going to be talking about midlife social media. As you get in here, welcome. We have gone ahead and muted everybody so that you don't have to worry about your dogs or your cats or your children or anything else. I also want to remind everyone that if you are on camera, you should cover your camera if you end up later deciding to take a shower or change clothes. Why am I telling you all this? Because I've had to edit footage out from the last couple of meetings. So I say this with great love and respect and wonder in my heart. You have amazing boobs. Please do not show them to the internet. So one of the things we love saying in the Writer's Bridge is that you do not actually have to show more than you wish to on the internet. And we're going to dive into that with Lucie today. So welcome, everybody. Please do weigh in on the chat. Where are you coming from? And let us know, what are you currently working on? Are you writing a memoir? Are you writing a novel? Are you diving deeply into romantasy? How is your writing going? Are there any particular challenges you're facing? We just want to know who you are and what you're up to. So welcome, everybody. In just a couple of minutes, we are going to be talking to Lucie. And Lucie Frost first tried to sell her memoir and heard that dreaded not enough platform. But she didn't want to violate her own privacy or get trapped into following fads. So instead, Lucie focused on what drove her writing: curiosity, and her Instagram and TikTok appearances that shared what she wanted to know and why built a multi-generational audience of inquisitive readers ready for her brand new book, How the Hell Did I Not Know That? My Midlife Year from Couch to Curiosity. And in the Writer's Bridge today, we're going to talk to Lucie in just a few moments about the tips and tricks that she used to feel comfortable and happy building her platform, how she protected her online self, and how that platform has led her to a traditional publishing deal. She will also be answering all your questions. But first, I am your host, Allison K. Williams, the Unkind Editor, and I am so glad to have you here on the Writer's Bridge. We are heading into year 5 of the Writer's Bridge. It has been a long and beautiful time, and you guys have been an amazing community the whole time. We are very excited about that. And I will just give you the little tease, which is that at the beginning of next year, we are going to be beta testing a brand new community space that we will be gradually bringing people into, making sure that it works, and it will be free because we are all tired of getting yanked around by Meta. So let's build something that we own in a space that we have. We have some extra Writer's Bridge resources for you from our September guest publicist, Shanetta McDonald. She is sending out 2 free resource guides for setting yourself up for author publicity success. I am going to drop that link into the chat so that you can sign up at that Google form and get that thing for yourself. Here we go, hitting the return button. There we go. So do click that link, fill that out later, and get those free resources from Shanetta about publicity. She gave us a great talk in September. What's coming up with Craft Talks webinars? We have a fabulous webinar with Lorraine Herring about writing through menopause that I know a lot of us are going to be really interested in. How can that season of life drive our work rather than distracting from it? We've also got Katie Bannon teaching a wonderful revision event called The Final Polish, and you can find all of those and all of our upcoming events at www.writingcraft.com. And I've also dropped the link into the chat. Love to hear from you if you've taken any recent Writer's Bridge web writing. I have a tongue. I promise it works. It's hinged at both ends. We would love to hear from you if you've had any particularly great writing craft webinars that you have enjoyed at Craft Talks. Now, I also want to let you all know that I have one more special event coming up, which is that December 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern, I am hosting with Andromeda Romano Lax, the best-selling novelist, and literary agent Jessica Berg. We are hosting an open house for the Queen Mary II Craft and Publishing Voyage, which we did this past September. We're doing it again next September. Cunard is having a huge sale right now, and we want to take advantage of lower prices for that ocean crossing. I will drop the link to register for the open house, or you can drop your email in the chat, and I will make sure that you are registered. It is an hour with literary agent Jessica Berg, best-selling novelist Andromeda Romano Lax, and the unkind editor, that's me, Ellison K. Williams. We're going to be sharing the delicious details of our exclusive writing conference on the Queen Mary II, the transatlantic ocean liner. We will be sharing information about classes, one-on-one meetings, afternoon tea, our courses, our sessions, our panels, all our fabulous events, the amenities, the activities on board the Queen Mary II next September. Our travel agents will be there to talk about flights and transfers and bring your questions for our lively hour of writing and travel talk. It is absolutely free. We will send the replay the next day as well. So you can either sign up at the link there or drop your email and I will register for the Zoom open house. So now, down to business. We have with us the amazing Lucie Frost. Lucie is a no longer practicing lawyer and the author of How the Hell Did I Not Know That? My Midlife Year from Couch to Curiosity. She has written humor and satire for Next Tribe, Slackjaw, The Belladonna, Points in Case, and many more. And she has 100,000 plus engaged followers across various platforms. Lucie, welcome. Let's give her some jazz hands.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We are so glad to have you here. And Lucie, first, tell us about your forthcoming book. So many of us are memoirists, and your book is kind of a memoir, but it evolved. How did it start, and how did it end up as now that it's published?
So it started as me learning three things a day and just writing about those three things. I mean, this is, the sort of kickoff. Because I retired, I was sort of stuck on the couch. I had no idea what to do with my life. So I decided that would be something, made me do something other than 90 Day Fiancé. And it evolved into a memoir about midlife transition. So the book is a combination of these sort of trivia facts and sort of the talk about what do you do when you've lost your identity. So
I love that. So at first, and I saw a very early draft of your memoir. At first, it was very self-focused. It was very much about your life, your evolution, your struggles. But the book, as it is now published, we might even call that memoir plus. There's a lot more in it than just your story. How did that happen, and what's in the book?
Well, the goal was to make it something that was more universal. So I still wanted it to have a real humor focus because it's what I enjoy. But I also wanted to help other people who were sort of going through any life transition and how do you figure out sort of everyone says find your passion, nobody knows what that means. Like, what the heck is a passion? And so it was, I broadened it, hopefully, to make it more applicable to people as a whole. So that was the goal.
I absolutely love that. And we've got somebody in the chat saying, don't knock 90 Day Fiancé. It's gotten her through some tough times. I got to tell
it
you,
got me through it.
I am a Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders making the team fan for like my
Oh,
mindless reality television. It is awesome. In every episode there's something like, but is Celinda going to be able to do the kicks? Because we're not sure she's going to be able to do the kicks and we might have to cut her. And they could play that clip on replay basically. So you have dived into football. How the heck do we get those lines on the field that we see on TV that are clearly not there in real life? You have dived into the meanings of words. Why is it hunger pangs and not hunger pains? What got you started with talking about your curiosity on social media?
Well, so when I retired and I was so lost, and I started that, at least I'm going to make myself learn three things a day, you know. So then I started writing those up, and then I realized I basically had a book, you know. So I collected them all and then wrote it all up together. And the feedback I got was funny, interesting, but you don't have a platform. And nonfiction, for fiction, as you probably know, it's a lot easier to get published without a platform or without a huge platform. But for nonfiction, and including humor, including memoir, it's absolutely required. And also, I was trying to publish, this was a memoir at a time when memoir has gotten more and more difficult to publish if you're not a celebrity. So I realized I needed to get online. I was not. I mean, I was on Facebook with, you know, where I had various high school friends who had gone crazy, following me, but that was about it. And so then I started with Writer's Bridge. And honestly, y'all at that time had a course, and you told me a minute ago
We
what it
did.
was
It was
called.
called Reach Your Readers, Keep Your Soul. And basically, after a year of doing the Writer's Bridge with my co host, Ashley Renard, who was also the co creator, we thought we should do something a little more intense, something that cost money. And we created this course. And what I remember most about it is we knew in advance we're doing 8 weeks, we're doing 8 topics. You know, some of it was like newsworthy and camera ready, like how do you write a press release about yourself and your book. Some of it was, you know, using social media. And I thought to myself, I'll just send them like 10 pages a week of, you know, worksheets that they can use. And over the run of the course, it grew to a 184-page worksheets book that I'm now turning into like a book for author platform. But I was like, holy crap, there is so much to cover. Lucie, how did you build on what you learned there? Because you started with 0 followers.
Yeah, I started with zero, and I hadn't been on Instagram before. Or, yeah, maybe I had a username, but that was really about it. And so I initially started by publishing, and I think y'all have probably heard about publishing or about social media buckets, where you basically make a list of sort of who you are. Like I am humor, and so maybe once a week I'll post about humor. I love my dogs, so once a week I'll post about dogs, and you know, just sort of this list of various things I would post about. It went nowhere. But I found that the posts that I did that were about initially, it started with curiosities about language, and that still dominates. Like, you know, what does a given idiom mean and where does it come from? That those really, really took off. The other thing that took off is when I would admit that there was something that I had just found out that I didn't know. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I didn't realize that a manger is just the trough that Jesus was lying in. I thought it was the whole barnyard scene. And so I did a reel on that, and I was like, how the hell did I not know that? Well, that one went wild, you know. So I started realizing when I come out authentically about how clueless I am, or, you know, how not smart I am for a smart person. Like if I just come out as myself, that's what resonated. I also didn't show face to camera at the beginning. I only did written stuff. And the minute I put my face to camera, it started growing just a lot. So I realized, okay, I have to. So I dropped all of those buckets. I rarely post about my dogs or anything but something that is a how the hell did I not know that thing. So I got really, really niche. Somebody, Trish, said it was the glasses. I'm also this glasses fanatic. So
You have an affiliate
I
deal with Zenny.
I do, but now I'm not really doing it anymore because they really want you to hawk your glasses, and I don't want to have to do that. Before you just had to tag them. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, I got a
absolutely.
ton of free glasses, so that was great.
So, how long did you spend, like time wise? When we first start creating platform, particularly on social media, it can feel like we're shouting into the void.
Right.
About how long, like months, weeks, years, were you shouting into the void before you started feeling like, oh, people are listening to me, people are paying attention?
I definitely think for a year as I sort of honed, what was working and what wasn't, nothing was happening. I mean, that was while I was doing the things that were in writing that weren't face to camera. Really, the minute I started doing face to camera stuff, it started growing slowly, slowly. And then once I hit about 50,000 followers, um, it just took off. It sort of builds itself at some point. I also started cross posting across all platforms, and I will say that was one of the best things I did because I lost my Instagram. I know that happened to you recently, Allison.
I
Uh,
lost my Facebook. Yeah.
yeah, I lost it for about 7 months, and my book came out in August this year. I did not get it back till July. So it was just the worst timing ever. And and so I did have TikTok. I did have Threads. So I had at least some other platform. Somebody's asking were all of my followers on Instagram. No, about 55,000, I think 53,000 are on Instagram. The rest, primarily YouTube and Threads. Although I do not engage anywhere except for Instagram.
So that
Just
kind of addresses one of the previous comments from Sunday, which is how do you keep up with the comments? Do you respond to all of the comments?
So at the beginning, I responded to every comment. Now I'm busy with book promotion and stuff, so I'm just barely online at all. So I'm not really responding. But normally I try to respond to maybe the first three or five comments on a post, and then leave it at that. I used to respond to every DM. Now my inbox is so flooded that I just can't. So every now and then I'll just open it up if I have a few minutes and answer some of them. But it's just not possible to answer all of them. I wish it were, but
Well, and I would say too, when I was first building a platform, when I first started being like, okay, I'm not just on social media to have fun and connect with friends. I'm here because I'd like to share knowledge. I'd like to be part of a community, and I want to be intentional about the community I want to create. I originally responded to every comment that anyone made on anything I wrote because I wanted to be part of that conversation. But it did get to a point where, yeah, there's too many, and a lot of them are asking the same things. And so for me, because I wrote a writing craft book, when a question popped up several times, I would note that question down and go, oh, this belongs in the book. Do you get ideas for posts? Do people
oh,
suggest things to you?
I get a ton of ideas for posts. I get tons of DMs with, have you done this? Will you do that? Whenever people ask me about one, like, have you covered the difference between affect with an A and effect with an E? And of course, I've covered that, right? Like, I would repost it. I would say, yes, I have. I'll repost that for you right now. And then I would repost it right then. But again, and as the volume gets bigger, it's just not possible to do that anymore. But I think it was really important at the beginning because I really did develop, I mean, relationships with people and community there. And so I think that was really good, you know.
And I think that's something that we need to recognize, which is platform at the beginning is not the same behaviors as platform in the middle or platform as we get closer to publication. So you've seen that you can't answer all the DMs anymore. I've seen that I can't really post every day anymore. So the venues where I do need to post every day, because I'm also responsible for social media for Brevity Magazine and the Brevity blog, for my retreat series as well as for me personally, I have a virtual assistant who puts together posts based on notes I give her and starts putting stuff online there. Because I need to be out there, I feel like, to stay in touch, but I can't do it all as one person and still have time to write.
Yeah, I also have a virtual assistant, and that was really game changing for me.
Mhm.
Also, at some point, I started posting reruns. I have enough reels sort of in the hopper that I think I have 400 or 500 reels that are recorded, so that I have the virtual assistant post every day a rerun, and then if I do a new reel, it's just on top of that. So I don't have any pressure anymore to get online because it's kind of all happening behind the scenes. Uh,
Yeah. And I love
yeah.
that, where when we've created a stable of content, and that stable of content is not, hey, buy my stuff. Hey, buy my other stuff. Hey, buy my book. The stable of content is, here's what I care about and what I love to share with my audience. You can then recycle stuff more or less indefinitely. One of the things we taught in that first class that you and I did together was recycle, reuse, repost. And so if you write a newsletter on Substack, well, that's also 4 or 5 Instagram captions. If you're on X still, that is also 15 or 20 quotes to pull out and put on X. That is also something that you can excerpt and put in your newsletter that goes right into people's email boxes. You don't have to recreate everything every single time. I've been blogging for the Brevity blog for going on 12 years now. And I am at the stage where sometimes I write something new. Sometimes I go back and I'm like, oh, I wrote this in 2013. Nobody's going to remember it, even if they did read it carefully at the time. And I'll update it with some new information and pop it back on again because the information is evergreen.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
And I used to, now I'm really careful about that when I'm recording a reel. I used to say the news peg it was attached to. Somebody asked, do I ever do something in response to the news? And yeah, I absolutely do. I think there was a set of reels I did on what is the filibuster, because you hear about it all the time, but I really didn't know what it was. So it had a news peg on it that I attached to it. I was like, I was watching XYZ the other day, and now I want to learn about this. Well, now I make sure none of them have news pegs so that I can repost them without thinking of that.
Now,
Um,
we've got a good question from Stephanie here. Did you create any of this pool of content before you started posting, or did you just start posting? And did you start posting randomly, or did you start posting on a schedule?
so I started posting randomly. I certainly didn't post every day. I would create the reels and then post them right then. And honestly, at the beginning, I felt I was very tied to the social media because I was creating every day my post for that day. So it felt like a lot of, immediate pressure. At some point, I went to creating all the reels on the weekend, the ones for the week. But again, now it just posts daily, and then I add one whenever I feel like it.
Mhm.
So it's changed definitely over time.
Do you do your own editing? Do you put your own captions on?
Yeah, so it goes back and forth. So I initially did do, so I record, somebody asked, how do you make a reel sort of question. The way I do it, and this doesn't work for everybody, but I just use my iPhone. And I, at the beginning, used to create scripts. I no longer do. But at the beginning, I found it useful, and I will record like, one sentence at a time. So I'll be like, a lot of people want to know what the difference between affect with an A and effect with an E, whatever. And then
Uh-huh.
I'll move the camera over here and record something else in the next sentence and the next sentence. So I'm never having to memorize a long script. I'm not totally face to camera the whole time. So there are a lot of jumps in my reels, and if you look at them, you'll see that it makes it easier because you don't have to memorize. But also, like if you watch TV or something or movies, you'll see that you really only stay on a shot for about 2 seconds max, and we're used to that jumping around. So it looks weird if you go totally straight to camera. So anyway, then I'll take that video, and it's a really long one with a lot of pauses. If I mess up a word, I just stop and keep recording. And then I import it into an app called InShot,
Hmm.
InShot. Instagram now has its own app called Edits. I'm used to using InShot. I like it. So I keep using InShot. And then it's so intuitive and easy to just cut the various parts of your reel and then cut out all the gunk and then put it all together. I used to use Mixed Captions app to do my captioning. Now InShot has gotten really good at it. So now I just tell InShot there's a place on under the audio button that you say caption, and it'll do your captions, and then you just have to revise them to fix it, especially with the Texas accent. It gets everything wrong.
Is InShot a free app or a paid app?
I don't know the answer. I think that there is a free component and a paid, and I don't remember because
Yeah, I've
I
started
don't.
to learn to use Instagram's Edits app, which is
Yeah.
free. Allison Lane, who is a crackerjack social media person, says she uses Descript for editing or does Riverside.io, where she records her podcasts. And Allison also points out to us the cache of reruns. You can actually take a dozen things that you rerun them on repeat. She uses an app called Smarter Queue, and that's Queue, like lining up, to schedule and reschedule content. Wow, Allison posts reels 2 or 3 a day, scheduled 3 or 4 apart. And I'm assuming that you can batch that by scheduling it, on a Saturday afternoon, and you're done for a couple of weeks in there. We had a great question up above. Was your growth consistent, asks Lisa, through the 0 to 100K, or were there places where you saw noticeably large bumps?
So there were some noticeably large bumps. I did a sassy reel, and it's the first one that's posted that's pinned on my Instagram about Ted Cruz. And that one took off. It got like 2 million views. And there was a big bump after that. One of the things, and that does remind me because I very intentionally have that one pinned. One of the things I do try to do in my reels is run people off. And what I mean by that is I'm not just trying to find out who is my audience. I'm trying to get rid of the people who are not my audience.
It is just as important to chase away the people who are not your readers as it is to recruit the people who are. And you can substitute readers, clients, friends, chase away the ones who do not belong with you.
Exactly. So by pinning that pin, it tells people, I don't like Ted Cruz. If you do, you're probably going to hate me. And so don't follow me. So that's the very first one I have on there. And sometimes, so some of those posts may be political, some may be sort of, I did a Bible Stories for Heathens series, and people who were offended by that left, and so for me, that was a good thing. I don't mind it when people leave. I actually prefer it. And then because
Yeah,
the ones who stay are ones who really are interested in what you're doing,
I
and might
love
be
that.
readers. The other
Yeah.
thing I focus on too is as a writer, I know that my goal is to reach readers. And I think as writers, we tend to post a lot that caters to other writers. So that when we're, for example, posting writing tips, that's great. And I may want to do that, but chances are better than not, that's not hitting my ideal audience, which isn't necessarily writers. So really thinking about that too is what content can I post that really is reaching the person who will want to read my book?
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think that's something that we all really need to remember as writers is yes, we know a lot of writers. Yes, writers are awesome, but compared to the total number of readers in the world, writers are a very small proportion of our possible readers. And so we really do need to think about what do we have to say that reaches our readers. Lucie, what does reach your readers? Do you have an idea who your ideal reader is? Who's your demographic?
So for me, it's mostly women. I tend to run like 85% female, 15% male, mostly over 50. Certainly somebody who isn't offended by curse words because I curse a lot. And somebody who doesn't mind irreverent humor and political humor, you know. So the midlife woman is honestly, the sassy midlife woman.
I
Is
love that. I love that. You are sassy, you are midlife, you are woman. And that actually brings us really beautifully into another question, which is that one of our people notices that right now, as you and I are talking to each other, Lucie talking now is a different personality than the who knew lady. Did you decide on that? Did it just happen? How is your online persona different than your person persona?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because my ex-husband used to say that it was like a character, right? Like, and the same is true when I write. Like when I'm writing humor, it's a different thing than I'm a serious person. Although I am funny, I don't. Well, I mean, at least I think I'm funny. But but it definitely has. Because you're talking really short, really quick when you're doing these reels. So it is different. I don't know how to explain it really, but you're being zippy, real zippy when you're doing a reel because people's attention span is nothing. So you want to be as quick as possible with the joke or the hook.
Yeah. And a lot of it is being 100% focused in the environment that you're in. Like when we're with our friends, when we're more relaxed, we might, something else catches our attention. We think of something new. But when we are presenting our public self, we want to sharpen in, we want to focus in on what we're talking about. And it is a short attention span. And Nancy asks, how long is a reel? I know that like the maximum length for reels is like 30 minutes or something like that, but most of your reels are short because that's what people are looking for. How long do you make them?
Ideally, I would make them 15 to 20 seconds, I think would be ideal. Mine tend to be 30 seconds to a minute. And I think I would probably have greater reach if I did shorter reels. I'm just not that great at that, you know. So I don't do any gimmicky stuff like any video tricks or anything like that. I think if I did that, it might get greater reach too. But I'm also just trying to do something that is sustainable for me. And
Mhm.
sustainable is just sort of being more authentic and just talking, and that may be babbling a little bit, but that's just more who I am.
Yeah, and Allison Lane points out in the chat, you are measuring, analyzing, adjusting, and making little pivots that help you keep improve your marketing. You're talking directly to your audience. You're noticing what people like and what they don't. We had another question too. Is there an ideal length for a written post? I have an opinion on that. Do you do much written posting? I know you write essays and humor, but do you write like a Substack or a newsletter or anything like that?
I do write a Substack, and I do some written reels that are just screenshots of like I may make three screens on Canva and string them together in a reel. Those it's just got to be slow enough so people can read it. And so the way I time that is I just say it out loud, and I know that I have to be able to say out loud that whole screen in the time that it's on there. And the writing has to be very large so that people can actually see it. But I think straight written stuff is a little tricky on social.
Yeah, I would say for me, for my email newsletter that goes into inboxes, the story at the beginning is somewhere between 400 and 650 words because I don't want to wear people out before they get to the list of upcoming events. If I'm writing for Substack, I'm aiming for somewhere between 500 and 750 words. If I'm writing for the Brevity blog, our sweet spot is 850 words. So some of it is building a rhythm that your reader is expecting because is it Heather Richardson who writes the really good political news and insight posts? She posts them to Substack. She posts them to Facebook. I think they are probably like 2,000 words, 2,500 words long, but that's what her audience wants. That's what her audience is expecting. If it was much shorter than that, they would be disappointed.
Right. And my Substack is basically a collection of the reels so that if you missed any of the reels during the week, or if you're not on social media, then you can click on them and see them. And so I only do about a 3 to 4 paragraph intro on my newsletters. So it's short.
I
Uh,
like that.
One other thing I learned that week, one other
Mhm.
tip, but that's about it.
So we've got a technical question, and then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into audience and stuff. A couple of people have asked, how did we find a good VA, a virtual assistant? What do they do for us? And I always like to say, and you don't have to answer this if you're not comfortable with it, but what are we paying them? Lucie, how did you find your VA? How do you know that they're any good? And if you're
Yeah.
comfortable with it, what do you pay them?
So I found my VA through y'all, Allison through Writer's Bridge. Ashley, the first one I got was through Ashley, who used to co-host Writer's Bridge with Allison. And then that VA retired, and then I had another friend who had a big social media presence. So I started using her VA and then switched back. And you do have to make changes from time to time. I asked you for a recommendation, Allison. So I think word of mouth is the way to go. Um, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I found a VA. I tried a couple of VAs and found, as Tara points out in the chat, start with a low risk task and see how it goes, then build up to the high risk tasks. For me, the very hardest part of using a VA is I am a professional editor, and everything I post must be 100% typo free. It is not okay to have a single typo in the stuff that I post because people will not take me seriously if I do that. And my VA is not the world's greatest speller. So anything that is text heavy, I definitely have to proofread it before it goes out. But she is great at copying and pasting video. She is great at scheduling social media. She is great at what I need, which is somebody to message me and go, Allison, you need to write your newsletter today. Allison, when are you going to write your newsletter? I've queued it up for you in the flow desk. Why haven't you written your news? Like, I need my mom yelling at me to get my homework done, to get some of my stuff done on time. And that's been really, really helpful for me. My VA lives in a country with a somewhat lower standard of living, and so I pay her $35 an hour. I have paid as much as $75 or $80 an hour. I did not feel like the tasks I had to assign were worth that price range, but somebody with more complex tasks might pay that much. I'm real comfortable around $35 an hour with a nice Christmas bonus and a nice birthday bonus every year.
I've tried to have a VA that's in my time zone, or around the world of my time zone, just so that we can do things sort of immediately. I haven't, it's hard to get the exact right mix that works for you. And for me, spelling is important too. That's why I started to say earlier, I used to have the VA do my captions, but I'm so picky about it that by the time I made the corrections, it was just faster to caption it myself. So right now I do my own captions. I use punctuation in the captions for my reels, which is so boomer. I know it, but I just, again, it's who I am. I gotta use punctuation. And I think not everybody is used to that, so it's hard for them to do that right.
And that brings us to a wonderful question from Tesha, which is the midlife woman is suddenly in demand for writer and reader audiences now. Like Miranda July's book came out, and that was a big deal. We're seeing a lot more people talking about menopause, about midlife, about perimenopause. Dave, we recognize and salute your maleness. Welcome to the group. We're glad to have you here. But as Tesha asks, it is kind of ironic that we were traditionally invisible, and now it's starting to become a fairly crowded field. What does it mean for you to create a niche when you started creating midlife content before midlife got trendy?
Yeah, when I first started, I thought midlife was going to be my focus, and now it's turned out to be more this how the hell did I not know that thing. But I started out only focused on midlife, and I would do midlife products and things like that. But I just wasn't inspired to continue that. I mean, in the end, you're going to have to do something that you enjoy.
Mhm.
But do I enjoy that midlife women now have a place in the conversation? Oh my God, it's fabulous. I'm so glad that we can talk and we can talk openly about things in a way we couldn't. I lost the question now, which I probably
We're having a midlife moment, but we're
midlife.
having it
Yeah,
together. And that's what
exactly.
we need. Yeah. Now, I've heard of formulas for social posting. Like I've heard 611 or 411, where it's like you've got six posts that are meaningful and useful: one backstage look, one personal moment, one educational post, one inspirational post, and then one soft sell and one hard sell. Do you follow any kind of pattern?
I don't, except for that I try not to sell very much. Nobody, it's like there's a new author that is a friend, and she's just growing her social media, and she's got a book coming out, and every single reel is about her new book.
Oh my
And
God. I would
nobody,
unsubscribe. I would
right.
unsubscribe so fast.
Nobody's interested in that. It's like
Yeah.
if the site is advertising, why would anybody be there? They have to get some information out of it, and then you slip your advertising in. So I usually go by then. I think this was your number, Allison, maybe at 1.1 in 10 posts is a sell. That's
10 gives for every ask.
yeah, that's sad right now because the book just came out. At the end of every reel, I have either the book cover or a subscribe to my newsletter, I think. And I'll be taking those off at the end of the year in
Mhm.
December. I'll stop putting that at the end. Then maybe one every 10 posts I'll say buy my book. But you have to be careful not to sell too much. What you're trying to do is attract people who then want to search out your book, not cram your book or whatever it is you're selling down their throats. Um,
Yeah, I like
Beyond
that.
Meat is one of the most, I don't know if y'all follow Beyond Meat social media. Oh my God, they're brilliant. So, they sell that what is it? Fake meat, vegan meat, whatever it is, Beyond Meat. And they have the funniest person doing their socials, and he is not selling the product, but they have a zabillion followers. And so, really, it's you're trying to attract people who then want to know more versus selling yourself, I think.
Yeah, you want people who are intrigued by what you have to say, who want to spend time with you. And then the book is an opportunity to spend more time with you. Allison points out in the chat, by and large, people don't love to be sold. They love an invitation and a reason why they should want more of what you are providing. Now, we have a great note in here from Sharon, which is us writers often look at social media as a necessary evil. But for Sharon, it's helped her create a kind and supportive community of like minded people. For her in particular, her community is living with invisible disabilities, chronic pain, or illness. What have you gotten beyond numbers, Lucie? What kind of community has created for you?
Oh my gosh, for me, it's been everything. So I am a person, I'm in San Antonio, Texas. I know there were a few of you, Victoria and Rachel and Josie, that I know are in San Antonio, but there's not a big, I mean, we have some writing community, but it's not New York, And so to me, that whole world was really distant. And social media has brought that to me, right? Like, so I now have other writers and publishers, and it's just given me relationships that I wouldn't have otherwise had. It's given me access that I wouldn't have otherwise had. I mean, Allison, I wouldn't have met you to be here today had it not been for social media, right? For your social media that then, and so it's been a real connector. It's also um, let me feel so, I'm a liberal, non-religious person in Texas. And so sometimes you feel like you're just sort of a fish out of water. But on social media, I've got this group of people who are all cool with the fact that I'm those things.
Yeah.
And so that sort of community is really fabulous.
I
You know.
love that. And I think this too ties into bringing our real self to social media. So Katie asks, do you have separate platforms for your personal social media and your author social media?
Um, no, except for on Facebook, I do have a personal social and an author social. I personally have found Facebook to be a waste of time as far as a platform, just because it doesn't have the organic reach that Instagram does. You post something on Instagram, it goes out to followers and non-followers, which helps you grow. There's less of that on Facebook. And so Facebook has kind of stayed my personal one, but then it's hard to really keep them separate. So at some point, I might give up on that. Also, I wouldn't post anything on my personal one, even that I wouldn't be okay with everybody knowing, because now everything is so public that, and
If it's truly private, do not put it on the internet.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, and over time, I was very private person to start with, and over time, I've gotten more and more used to sharing and then oversharing. So now I feel the need to keep less private, but that came over time.
Yeah, you kind of get used to it. What do you feel like sharing? What do you not feel like sharing? Do
Yeah.
you ever get negative comments? And if so, how do you deal with them?
So I get tons of negative comments and negative DMs. The I mean, if I post anything political, people go out of their brains, right? So the great thing about Instagram, I feel like this is my house. And if you come on my and post something jerky or racist or whatever on my page, I just delete it.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't feel one bit bad about deleting comments that are rude. They're just gone. I block people all the time. It's like, thank you for telling me you were a jerk. I've blocked you. Now you're not in my life. How fabulous. And I ignore DMs. I just don't care. I just delete and block and delete, and it's fine. I did get a service called Delete Me to get my personal, basically my home address. It was all over the internet. And so I Googled myself when the book was coming out, and when I saw how much personal information was out there, I got that Delete Me service to sort of hopefully try to clear out some of that private information off of there. But
Yeah, it
it
is
keeps
well worth it
popping up,
to
you
yeah,
know.
it's worth it to Google yourself about once a month and see what pops up and see if you are happy with what is popping up on the first page of search results about yourself. Um, Lucie, what do you do in real life? What do you do off of social media to promote your book, to connect with your community?
So in to promote the book, I mean, I'm right now, the book just came out, so I'm traveling every weekend, going to book festivals and book events. So that's been great. In real life, I write a lot. I'm working on another book now. I have another book written that I'm querying. I have an office space that I go to, co-working space, because I dawdle too much when I'm at home, even though it's quiet here. And I do fun stuff too. I mean, I'm retired, so I cycle. I have friends and do stuff with my friends. I travel a ton. Um,
Mhm.
and I think the trick on the social side is get it. to where either through scheduling or however you need to do it so that it can run itself when you go on vacation so you're not worried about it when you're out of town. Uh,
Yeah.
just being so tethered to the social media like I was at the beginning, I don't think was healthy.
Yeah, that becomes really challenging. I was you and I were both booted off social media this summer. For people who are not aware, Meta, in an effort to show that they were cracking down on inappropriate material, did an AI driven ban where they banned about 1.3 million people around the world, most of whom had not actually created a problem. I got caught up in that. Lucie got caught up in that. And for me, it took an attorney to get my account back because they were just not listening at all. And their whole process is designed to make you tired and give up and go away.
Yeah, mine was actually a hack.
Oh,
I
gosh.
got hacked and they bought ads, and the ads violated terms of service.
Hmm.
So I got booted out of Instagram and Facebook, and then they went and hacked the TikTok. And I will tell you what happened is that all of my passwords, the VA had them in a Google Doc, all of my passwords to all of my socials, and so all of her clients got hacked. So I would
Yeah.
definitely tell you do two-factor authorization on all of your social media. Be careful, like now, the VA I have now, they are posting through Meta. They don't even have my Instagram password. I'm just too nervous about it. Um, but yeah, that was not a good time. And I
Yeah.
also had to hire an attorney, and I am a lawyer, but I hired a company that then sent lawyer letters to them, and that's the only way I ever got it back. I wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, we've had a couple of people in the comments asking about Meta Verified. So I went through a series of steps because I was told, I found on Reddit, actually, there are some large Reddit forums of people who got banned figuring out how to get back on. The first step was to get Meta Verified and talk to Meta Verified support. However, Meta Verified support does not actually have any power to help you. Their job is to stall you. But if you do want to sue later, it looks good to have gone through whatever process is available to you. And then you have an attorney, send them a registered letter, and then you file a small claims court case. And most of the time, people get their accounts back before small claims court because Meta does not want to be showing up at small claims court in Indiana and Ohio and everywhere around the country. Hopefully, they will start getting it under control because it has been a very, very large problem and it is hurting people's income. I noticed a substantial decrease in my income from webinar enrollment and from retreat enrollment from not being able to share my stuff on Facebook and on social media. What do we
Yeah,
do?
there's
Sorry, go
a
ahead,
question
Tracy.
about Meta Verified and whether we should get it. I will tell you, I also found Meta Verified not to be useful. You supposedly have immediate access to them to get additional help, but if you're locked out, you can't get into it to access them. So then
Yeah.
I created a backup account and then got Meta Verified on that so that I could reach Meta Verified. And then they do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And so I don't find Meta Verified to add any value,
Yeah.
personally. I don't know. I still have it on my Instagram, but I don't know that it adds anything.
Yeah, I don't know that it does either. We've got a great question from Judith. If you're not happy with what shows up on social media about you, what can you do?
Well, you mean so like the personal information, that was the thing I was concerned about is, my kids' names and my personal address, my cell phone number was out there, and my email address and stuff. So that was what Delete Me helped me with. As far as what you can do as somebody, I guess the only example I can think of something that's out there that I don't love is like a negative review or something. And then I think the only thing you can do about that is keep putting out stuff and good stuff and hope that the good then sort of smothers out the what you don't like so much. I don't know. What's your experience with that, Allison?
Yeah, I mean, I have found that I've gotten a couple of negative reviews, either for me as a person or for, products that I've put out or for my book. It's their opinion. It's if it's truly abusive or profane, you can usually file a complaint with wherever it is and get it taken down. But in some ways, I think it's actually good that not everything is good about a person online, because I was just looking at someone's reviews that were quoted on their page where they were selling courses, and every single review used similar phrasing. And I thought, I think these are fake reviews. I don't think they're real, because they're all uniformly positive, and they're all uniformly positive in the same way. And plus, I also think that just as we want to chase away the people who are not our readers, we want to chase away the people, who aren't going to like us. And if everyone likes you, if everyone thinks you're fine, then you're probably not very good. Because if you're good at what you do, if you're amazing at what you do, there are going to be people who love how you do it, and there's going to be people who hate it, because you've made a choice that is strong enough to piss some people off. And that is a proof of the quality and the power of your work.
Yep. Well said. Well said.
So, Lucie, in just a moment, you and I are going to share our top tips, one from each of us, about what people can do today to build their author platform. But I do want to let you all know that if you are watching this on YouTube, we do have the links to the resources that we've mentioned. They are right down below in the description. If you are watching this, please do forward the replay to a writer friend. And we invite you also to join us again for our next episode of The Writer's Bridge, December 30th. We have got the amazing Jane Friedman, who is going to be with us talking about publishing in 2026. What should we be keeping our eyes open for? What's new? What's different? What's changing? And what are the waves that we can ride into publishing in 2026? Want to remind you all to please check out the Craft Talks webinars, all available at writingcraft.com. We have some fantastic webinars coming up. And I also want to remind you that December 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern, I will be hosting a free open house about the craft and publishing voyage on board the Queen Mary 2. It's like a miniature writing conference across the Atlantic. And last year, 2 publishing deals came out of the conference. Well, not even last year, September, 2 publishing deals came out of it, which was pretty darn awesome. Lucie, what is your top tip about what we can do today to build our platform better?
I think maybe just really looking about what you're going to post about. Because if I'm Lucie, the writer, I'm not just going to post about Lucie, right? So it's like, what is your niche? What is it? If you're writing about mental health, what specific mental health thing are you going to be talking about? And so try to really narrow down on your subject. That's going to be helpful to viewers.
100%. And I think my top tip is decide in advance what you are willing to be vulnerable about. Because part of the power that we have for our readers is when we are able to show them you're not the only one who feels this way. You're not the only one who had this experience or went through this struggle. And by deciding in advance, these are the things I'm willing to violate my own privacy on, it stops us from accidentally violating our privacy in ways that we're not comfortable with or we don't feel good about. So for me, I don't discuss my marriage or my relationship. My husband's not on any social media and doesn't want to be. But I am really open about my struggles as a writer. And I'm also really open about, hey, I've been medicated for depression for 12 years. God bless Wellbutrin. And one of the best received essays I ever wrote was all about how I was scared to start antidepressants because I thought it would take away my creativity. And I had to write about that. And a lot of people wrote privately to me to say that that really helped them. Lucie, are you a sister in Wellbutrin?
Oh, yes, that's exactly what I'm on. For many more years than you. It's the best.
Yeah. So, folks, thank you so much for joining us on the Writer's Bridge. You guys are amazing. As always, we invite you to please unmute yourselves for a joyful goodbye. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Writer's Bridge. Go ahead and unmute yourselves to say bye.
Bye.
Hey, good to see you,
Thanks,
Allison.
everybody.
Bye.
Happy
Bye.
Thank
Thanksgiving.
you.
Happy
Bye bye.
Thanksgiving.
Elaine, I love
Bye.
you.
Thanks for
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
bye.
Allison, hopefully at some point you'll put all the goodbye audios together and have one big.
Oh, that would be
That's why I
awesome.
thought you did this so that you were thinking about the content later and
I
you were
should
going to
do
compile
that.
all of them.
What I want is I want the romper room magic mirror to like look through the magic mirror. You know, I see Allison and Audrey and Trish and Valerie and Cindy. So, hey, Allison Lane, when are you going to come on the Writer's Bridge again? We miss you and you're awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I would love to. I had the craziest experience over the weekend. I was the keynote speaker at a women in publishing event that was like 10 towns came together. And the questions that authors cannot answer are shocking. Number one, what is your book about? Really? Um,
Ooh.
I heard one author literally say, "Ooh, that's a hard one." How?
Oh
How
dear.
is that the hard one?
Uh,
Really? But I was really pleasantly surprised to see so many varieties of publishing and
Mhm.
people get comfortable with like find the way that works. I would love to talk about that. But you and I can brainstorm
We'll
off.
talk. We'll
Yeah.
talk. Yeah. And if you are a writer who is building your platform, you have got to visit Allison Lane's website. She has some amazing resources, everything from which photos should you take at your book signing so that you've got
Yeah.
great photos to use in your future posts, down to what are 9 things you need to be doing to make yourself credible as an expert. I am working through one of those PDFs right now. There is something for
Oh,
you to
you
learn no
are.
matter
I'm
what
so glad that's
stage.
helpful. I'm actually putting together right this second, like a bundle of all the things that, what you're sitting on, and you're like, people should just have access to this, like how to build your insights about your audience and craft that one line, that book in a breath of you take a breath and you answer the effing question, what is my book about? But you better deliver it in a breath.
I
If you
love
take a second
that.
breath, it's too long.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
I'll share it
So,
in the
yeah,
group.
please do. Please do. Lucie, thanks again for being here. It was so awesome to have you.
Thank you so much. And yeah, this is great.
Lucie, I
Awesome.
miss seeing you.
I know
I see
I
your
haven't seen you.
videos and I'm
I
like,
haven't seen
oh,
you
she
forever,
tickles
Allison.
me so much.
Yes,
And
it's been
Lucie,
a
I will
long
link your
while.
book in the YouTube
Thank you.
description as well. So
Appreciate
yeah.
it. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Cool.
Okay, well, this was great fun. And